Welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for taking the time to spend a little time with me. You know I always appreciate that, guys. And you know I had to bring you this quick video. I always say quick. I never know how long it's going to be, but I definitely don't want it to be too long, guys. I'm going to rely on you guys to read these blogs. I'm simply doing these videos to let you guys know these things that they talk about in these blogs are absolutely what's in the game. I've seen it for myself. I will touch up on a couple things here, touch on a couple things here, and then we'll get out of here. So first thing, looking at this blog, this one is the additional gameplay improvement, special teams, catch outcomes, and ball physics. Now I'm gonna read a couple things here, guys, which you definitely want to know about, well, let me say a few things first, and then there'll be some parts that I will read. With the special teams and being able to block kicks and like that, it's not going to be overpowered. This was discussions that we had when I was down at EA. It's not going to be overpowered. You have to be in a specific situation and formation and things like that, so you're not going to be able to just pull it off at any given time. All right? Same thing with being able to do the fakes. You guys are not just going to be able to be in these crazy formations. It has to be the right formation, the right play call, or what have you, etc., etc. And they definitely are going to have limitations, to prevent guys from being able to exploit the situation. All right, now along with that, the ball physics. So let's definitely talk about that, guys. And I'll read here too parts of the multiplayer catch outcomes. Let me find the part here that I wanted to read real quick. Where is it here? Let's see. Okay, here we go. And shout outs to Azure Effect. Azure actually read this part as well on the Sim Standard radio show tonight. But it says here, we now restrict those extremely athletic, high degree of difficulty catches to the more elite ball in air receivers only. All right, so the more elite ball in air receivers only. This would be guys like Odell Beckham Jr., Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, and of course Dez Bryant. All right, so no longer are you gonna have to worry about guys that like a Wes Welker type of guy being able to pull off all of these ridiculous catching traffic, as far as like the fancy catches and the one-hand catches. So you won't have to worry about seeing everybody doing that. So again, they're trying to get more specific as far as how the player plays, as they move towards definitely wanting to approach more individuality as far as signature and things like that. These are the steps that are going to get them in that direction. Like it says here, the running back or slot receiver will trigger more of a catch that is more effective of his catching ability. So again, traits are going to play a big role here. All right, another thing, guys, is they did add the SWAT mechanic. The SWAT mechanic now is going to give you more opportunity to knock the ball out after the catch point. The key thing to know, let me find it here. 1 second, guys. All right, right here. I'll read this whole thing. A huge legacy flaw in Madden catch system is once a player has matched the catch, the ball will stay in the receiver's hands regardless. With ball physics, if a defender collides with the ball during the catch animation, the ball has a chance to be organically knocked out. This also applies to hands and limbs. If they get an arm between the ball and the receiver will no longer be able to pull the ball through the defender. We definitely have to applaud that. We still have to see how that works, if it is as efficient as they want it to be. This is quite a game changer for catches in traffic, and strategic use of the possession catch is critical. Love to hear stuff like that, guys. How often do you hear us talk about, even myself personally, that ball morphing and warping into the receiver's hand, and it's like they're matching this catch animation and there's nothing you can do to interrupt it. This is what I was just recently talking about not too long ago. We all want more organic situations at the catch point, but there's ways that they have to implement it. It's not as easily done as a lot of us think. And I always said, well, we need to create some type of branch animation situation or give the defender, more ability to knock the ball out or make the ball more tangible. And it looks like that is the route that they've gone in. Like I said, guys, I've seen this in action. Looks good. I did see it early on. So I definitely have to see it, more tuned in a more, tuned state. All right, so that's all good stuff there, guys. So I'm not really going to read, much more of this here. You guys are seeing it. I'm flying through it here so you can see it. The throw out of sack. This is a good one as well. Let me read this small portion here. In these cases, the ball would often appear to simply fall out of the quarterback's hand as the sack animation was triggered. What they're referring to is what you currently see in Madden 16. It says now in 17, with ball physics, we now have organic outcomes in those situations. They can result in fumbles and strip sacks. Yes, guys, strip sacks are in the game. Sack fumbles and things of that nature. If the quarterback's arm is going forward when he is hit, you are also going to see that outcome play out organically. This all plays a big role in fumble versus incomplete pass, and it is now more important than ever to get the ball out quickly under pressure. Great stuff right there, guys. So like I said, I'm not going to go into the block kicks and all that. I can basically just say to you, it's not going to be exploited. At least it wasn't at the time when I saw it. Onside kicks are definitely going to be different with ball physics, as well as this right here, the loose ball recovery. This is going to be crazy. I saw it early on, and I will be honest in saying when I saw it, they still had a few issues as far as the pile up, and everybody knows that. It was way early, guys. I'm talking about pre-alpha. But I did see how the ball bounces around and how it's going to be more of a real fight for the ball as it's a fumble. As they say here, they've added more smarts or more AI to the players. They'll try to recover the ball a lot faster, and there's a ton of animations dedicated to loose ball recovery. So that should look pretty decent. Of course, we still have to see it. All right, but like I said, guys, I'm just skimming through this, really just confirming that these things are there. I want you guys to read these blogs in depth and in detail. So let's go to the next one, and one of the more important ones right here, the additional gameplay blog in regards to zone coverages. Guys, this is too much for me to read. And shout out to my guy Anthony White. I talk about A-Dub all the time. A lot of you guys really don't know who he is. He is now on Twitter. I'm telling you, this dude, his knowledge of football is ridiculous. A crazy football mind. He's always with coaches. He's good friends with Pep Hamilton. This guy is the truth. Trust me. And when he's talking to me about coverages and stuff, he's using terminology that the NFL, coaches use. Like he'll say, well, that comes from the Rex Ryan tree, and this came from that, and that, this comes from your former Steelers coordinator Dick LeBeau. This is his brand, and he knows all of that. And the terminology is crazy. How he can recite like some of the terminology for the same play. Like one coach might call it this, the other coach might call it that, but it's basically the same thing. But they may have different rules and slightly different procedures or behaviors that they have for each guy in a certain position. Now let's read a couple things here. First and foremost, the new zone coverage. It says moving to a new AI architecture meant our underneath zone coverage logic had to be completely rewritten from scratch. That's a big buzzword right there. Let's go back to where it says right here. When we begin to discuss the improvements made to the QB AI in Madden NFL 16, we detailed our new AI architecture called Behavior Coordinator. All right? That's basically allowing the defense to play smart and recognize the situation, recognize their matchups. They count the receivers to know who they're supposed to guard. They count them from the outside in, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4 in some cases. That's football, guys. And this is the thing that I want to say this real quick. You cannot deny what they are trying to do. I don't want to hear anymore, people saying, oh, they're not doing anything. They're not trying to push the envelope. This stuff right here is innovation. Will there be stuff that still needs to be done? Absolutely. And the funny thing about it is the devs say that out of their own mouths. They tell you that. So really, at this point, it's all about just trying to get this game to be what it can be. That's it for me. Confidence in these guys is there. It's been there. It's been there for me. And like I've said to you numerous times, if you don't believe anything else, believe in what I'm telling you. And my other Sim Standard brothers, Azure Fact and Smitty, believe what we're telling you, because we can't lie to you. We can't run from you. We're public figures. Y'all can find me any given time on Twitter, on Facebook, YouTube. The only way for me to run is for me to shut everything down, and then who looks like a punk then? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, man, the reason why you might hear enthusiasm in my voice is because this is the type of stuff that they're doing, and they got even more plans. Y'all have no idea what's coming even in the future. You understand what I'm saying? But look at all these different, coverage concepts here that they got. Like, and some of the names of the new coverage is not in here, so I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to say or not. But basically, man, you see all of these new assignments and new rules and logic. Excuse me. It's just crazy. Now let me read to you this real quick. One little part, and again, ZooEffect read this on the show as well. It says each new zone coverage assignment has rules and logic in place with the idea that they'll be used in specific coverages. So in essence, each player in a given coverage concept has knowledge of a global scheme and how everyone's assignment fits into the scheme. Each player having a global knowledge of the scheme gives them the ability to make progression reads, aka pattern matching or pattern reading. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of the progression reads for the zone defenders, here's a high-level overview of the new zone coverages assignments. So they basically just tell you what the assignments are, and then he goes on to tell you exactly how these guys, will read, which player will do what depending on the concept and zone that he's in, what the middle read player will do, user mechanics, just telling you how now the defensive hot routes are a little different. When you choose underneath, it'll put guys in a hard flat depending on the defense that you're in. But overall, man, I'm telling you, it's so robust. I'm not going to sit here and try to explain it in this video. It's simply something that you guys are going to have to see and learn for yourselves. Because some of you guys, this is going to be, a little too advanced, to be honest. I'm just being honest. A lot of people that play Madden, I'm talking about globally, they don't know all of this stuff. So the fact that they're putting real concepts in the game, that says a lot as far as what they want to do with Madden. So I don't want to hear no more that they're just trying to cater to certain people. They're going for football. And that's just it. So with all of the stuff that you've seen so far, listen, man, I can't wait for you guys to get more information, see this stuff in action. There's still more that hasn't been announced yet, in terms of the game itself. And it's great. But there's one other thing I wanted to read here. I'm trying to find it. And then that's going to wrap it up, guys. Where is it? Give me a second, guys. I think it might be here in the soft squat. Yeah, let me read this one. For soft squat, the flat zone assignment primarily used in 2 deep 4 under zone blitzes. The soft squat player, based on the route concept ran by the offense, has the ability to convert to man. You hear that? The soft squat player also has the ability to jump certain types of outbreaking routes by inside receivers. Thus, defensive plays where a soft squat player is present are sometimes referred to as trap coverages. But the biggest takeaway from that, guys, is they can break out of the assignment and make it a man coverage one-on-one situation. How many times have y'all heard me say that should happen? For you guys who've been following me, they're listening and they're implementing things that we asked for. There's no denying that. So, like I said, to wrap this video up, guys, it all comes down to the efficiency rate. But please read these blogs. The links are in the description. Read them to its fullest. Take from it what you want to take from it, but please read them in depth and in detail so you can understand everything that is going into this product. All right, guys, so that's all I got for you, man. Leave your thoughts in your comments. I want to hear everything you guys have to say, whether good, bad, negative, what have you. Leave all your thoughts, leave your comments, and I promise it will not hurt you to hit that like button. All right, guys, until next time, let me know what you think. Peace. Once again, guys, thanks for coming by. And if you want to interact with me live, head on over to Sim Standard Radio every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, along with Smitty and ZooEffect. The call-in number for the show is down in the description. Now, of course, for more content, go ahead and click the link above. And before you go, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. All right, guys, until next time. Lights out.